my name is Klaus Riehm. I'm working as a pre-sales engineer at SEP, and I have the pleasure to provide you with the latest information about our new release. We also have some focus topics and strategic topics, and I would like to just take you with me and show you how we can set up the future of backup together. First of all, I will talk about the company, because there might be also a couple of participants who have not heard of SEP. Well, we are not a startup company. SEP is celebrating the 25th anniversary in 2017, so it's next year that we have the anniversary of our backup software. The company SEP is much older. We have a huge experience and a long history in backup. The SEP strategy, talking about customer data, how we protect the customer data, talking about new technologies, talking about world-class support, because we have very experienced and competent people in our support, which is a big plus for our software and for our customers. And well, we also have a partner model selling our software all over the globe, not directly, but with a lot of experienced partners. Provide the necessary trainings for our partners. And with this kind of setup and with this kind of strategy, now is the question, what have we achieved during these 25 years of backup software? And well, it's pretty new that you can find SEP in the Gartner Peer Insights. You can see there are customer statements about our software, and we definitely do have a very good reputation also on the market. And if you read the statements of our customers, they are very satisfied with our software. If we talk about where have we been today with our version 4.4.2, we already have a specific market which is a target for us. And we have this example of Link, which is kind of a wood processing machine producing company. And it's a mid-market company. They have a heterogeneous environment with a SAP, even based on two databases, Oracle as well as MaxDB. They also have Windows and Linux machines. They have a VMware environment, which is also kind of a market leader in the hypervisor area with 110 virtual machines. They have Exchange, Microsoft SQL Server. They are running on Fujitsu hardware, Deduplizierung appliance, CS800. But we have a lot of similar case studying. Maybe one has Novell area and the other one has a Quantum hardware and the next one has IBM hardware. So this really shows our market presence to be very heterogeneous in the market. Well, if you look at this picture, it's kind of a cloud picture with buzzwords, and it resembles somehow also our support matrix, which is very, very huge. We support almost every operating system. We support all the databases with online agents, supporting the backup API of the database vendors. And there are definitely some strategic topics which are hot at the market, and SAP has the right partnerships with the big partners to fulfill the needs of these strategic areas of development, areas of partnership and special activities. And so we are talking about REF, and you will see later on that REF is kind of an online agent for snapshot-based backups of virtual machines, and it's pretty new with our last release that we have this online agent, and we are working closely together with Red Hat. Of course, VMware is the market leader, but in big projects, and especially in Asia, we see that there is a big move from VMware, which is very expensive, to Red Hat virtualization, and we are one of the backup vendors on the market having an online agent for Red Hat. Then we have the partnership with SUSE. It's a long-lasting partnership. So we support the SUSE platform. The SLAS 12, we have done a lot for the disaster recovery of SLAS 12, having the support for the UEFI BIOS system and for ButterFS file system and things like that. That's a normal update of the support matrix. But if it comes to other partnerships like SAP, and especially in the SAP Business One market, Business One is SAP HANA only on SUSE platform. And therefore, this is very important that we have a very close relationship to SUSE, and much more we are integrated into SLAS for SAP applications being available from the SUSE Connect system. So we are deeply integrated into the SUSE landscape, especially when it comes to SAP. Then we have the IBM partnership. We have supported the databases, DB2 and Informix. We support the AIX platform. And but pretty new is that we also support the Power architecture, that we support the Z series with a Linux One distribution, and there are not much backup software having not only the client but also the databases, also the GUI, the remote device server, and the backup server running on Power architecture and Z series. So this is a pretty new area. And even if IBM has its own backup software, TSM is famous all over, but TSM is more or less large enterprise targeted, and from a price perspective, not always the right product for the mid-market, which is also a target area for IBM with the Power architecture. And if you search for SEP sesam on the IBM homepage, there's a little entry field on the top right, and just enter SEP sesam, and you will find statements from IBM recommending our software. And I think that's pretty good to read in the internet. Then I've already talked about SAP. Of course, we have the SAP certifications for R3 or NetWeaver, how it is called nowadays. And I think we are one of the products having the most SAP certifications, because we are certified for SAP for Oracle on Windows, on Linux, certified for HANA, for Red Hat, for SUSE, certified for HANA on Power architecture. I think this is a huge bundle of certifications in the SAP area. We have an agent also to back up SAP based on MaxDB. That's not a problem. And currently we are working on an agent, an online agent for Sybase ASE. And I think only TSM has the certification for this kind of agent. So this is also some almost unique selling points for our software. And it shows how strong the partnership with SAP is, because we are all German companies and working very closely together in the SAP arena. Especially if it comes to SAP HANA, because our agent is integrated into the HANA Studio. You can do a recovery from the HANA Studio. This makes life very easy for the SAP administrator, because he can use his HANA Studio for recovery. The catalog of all the backups which have been done with our backup software are displayed in HANA Studio, and you can select your point-in-time restore, and it's really a good usability and easy. Yeah, Business One is strategic area of SAP worldwide, and the installed base today, I think it's mostly Windows-based, Microsoft SQL Server, and SAP is pushing HANA into this area very, very strong. And I think there's need for a backup software in this area, which is, from a price perspective, fitting into this market. And we are working closely together with SAP for Business One with our HANA agent, being a part of the roadshows of SAP worldwide and so on. We have the certifications for HANA, for Intel, for Red Hat, and for SUSE, for PowerPC architecture, as I've told, and we have the Linux orientation, which means that we have the experience from history with the Linux platforms. And especially if we talk about the Business One area, all the customers coming from Microsoft SQL Server, they do not have any knowledge of Linux, and so they have some kind of problems taking care of this Linux host, and they need a backup software with a graphical user interface, with the possibility doing automated backups. And last but not least, we are talking about managed service provider, because this is a severe market challenge and a market change, I think. And in February at our partner summit, we have announced a business model for MSPs. We have introduced new license models for MSPs. They are very attractive, especially if we talk of pricing compared to other backup vendors. We have provided concept for our MSPs, how they can set up the infrastructure of SAP sesam for their specific needs. We have our huge support matrix, which is definitely an advantage using our software in the MSP environment, because they never know what the customers will have as requirements, what kind of databases, what kind of operating systems. And with our software and this huge support matrix, they absolutely future safe no matter what requirement comes. Even if there is another hypervisor, it's not VMware, they have to use Citrix Xen or RAF or Hyper-V. We have our online agent, and they are safe for the future. And then if it comes to data security, this is also a hot topic, especially for managed service providers taking care of customer data. And I think in one of the next slides, I will talk about data security and what we as SAP provide in this area. Of course, it's a good point for us that we are backup software made in Germany. We do not have any backdoors, and as a German company, we really comply with these strong regulations in Germany regarding data protection and data security. This is the BSI, the German Federal Department for Interior Affairs, and they have their specific rules, very strong rules, and we comply with these data security regulations. But there are also, from a European perspective, new regulations. Starting in May 2018, they have very new, very strong restrictive regulations, and especially the finance companies, like assurance companies, like banks, they are already starting actions to be prepared when these regulations will be valid. And they have to confirm that they have the right regulations in-house, that they have the right products, that the data is safe. And if we talk about cloud, there are also some issues in these regulations, because it is treated as being potentially unsecure. And so a lot of companies are thinking about these regulations already today. Then what is our product capable of if it comes to encryption? And of course, we can encrypt the communication between the backup client and the server if you use the SSH protocol. But we can also encrypt the data transport. If you use the HTTPS protocol, then it's fully encrypted, the data transport communication, and we can encrypt the data itself. We can encrypt the data on tape, we encrypt the data on disk in a data store, and what we are currently working on, and this is also because of a huge project in the public sector, that we can encrypt a dedup store. SI3 is the term for our own invented internal deduplication algorithm, and it's not good enough to have the data deduplicated. Even this is strong, because you only have the blocks, and if you do not have the hash index, there's no use of these blocks. But from the single blocks, it might be possible to extract single strings, maybe passwords or whatever. So it's necessary to encrypt the complete dedup store, and this will be released in our next update just because of this public sector project. And then it is possible to have an external password for 4 eyes principle. This means that we have the first person. This is the backup administrator who has the rights to run the GUI, to do backups and do restores and all these administration things for backup and restore. And there's a second person who has access to the password. So we have an entry field, and the second person has to enter the password for the backup. Then especially later on for the restore, he has to take care of the password and enter the password so that only both persons together can do a restore and not only one person is able to do the restore. This is a very important principle also in the public sector for data security. Well, now let's talk about the functionality in our new version. And even if it's a step from 4.4.2 to 4.4.3, which might imply that there's not much in it, that's wrong. There's a huge set of functionality, very important functionality, and I will talk about this in the next slides. I will always try to swap between the slides and the graphical user interface, so to show you where you can find the functionality in our new GUI. And well, let's start with VMware, because this is an absolutely hot topic on the market, and I would like to talk about instant recovery and single file restore. If you are familiar with SEP sesam, you might know that we already had this functionality in our software, but there was one huge restriction because it was restricted to full snapshot backups of virtual machine. I mean, this consumes a lot of backup storage, and it was a bad restriction, I know. But now we have removed this restriction. It's possible to do instant recovery in single file restore, which are functionalities based on mounting the backups and extracting data from this mounted backup. And this is now possible with incremental and differential backup, so that you can make use of change block tracking and reduce the amount of data on your backup storage. If you click on an incremental backup, the whole chain down to the last full backup will be combined to a consistent set of data and be provided by a virtual file system for mounting, and then you can access this. I mean, change block tracking and incremental backup was also available already in the past, but now we have combined both functionalities, instant recovery and single file restore, together with this incremental and differential backup. This is kind of state of the art. Everybody had expected that. But we have gone one step further because we have combined it together with our integrated deduplication algorithm. So if you use deduplication and the disk storage is a deduplication store, you can also mount incremental backups from this deduplication store. And this is kind of a complex technology. I know that other products, our competitors, sometimes have problems in this area, and we provide this for Windows VMs as well as for Linux VMs, as well for Novell VMs. If it's an OES server with a NSS file system, it's also possible to do the single file restore of files together with all the trustees from the NSS file system. So it's a really comprehensive technology, I think. And last but not least, we support the vSphere version 6 to be absolutely up to date with the latest version of vSphere. So I think we have a complete set of VMware backup features. Now, if we talk about the Red Hat virtualization, I have already told that we have a new online agent for Red Hat virtualization. We have been the first one with Red Hat to announce this online agent. We have, together with Red Hat, developed this API, and Red Hat is still developing on this API. And as soon as there are new functionalities available with this API, we will integrated in our online agent. So today it's only possible with copy backups. Incremental backup is not possible with this API today. As soon as it is available, we will also have it in our agent. The current version, Rev 4, is supported. We support single nodes and Rev clusters. That's also possible. And The way it works, the algorithm is pretty similar to the hot add transport method in VMware, because we have a proxy VM where our backup client is installed, and this is acting as a data mover because all the virtual disks are mounted to this proxy VM, and with this data mover functionality we extract all the data to the backup server before transporting the data to any kind of media. So I have promised to also show you this functionality in our graphical user interface. So I have to look for a Linux host. There's the Red Hat management host over here. And if you create a new backup task, then you can just browse which kind of virtual machines are available, and they will be displayed over here. And it's this kind of uniform look and feel, because it's the same with the VMware agent and with the Citrix Xen agent, and you have the VMs over here. Just click on a VM and say OK, and now you have the task name, the source name. Here we have now the backup type ref. So this is fairly easy to just configure the backup of the virtual machines on a ref machine. Now let's talk about NDMP. This is also pretty new in our latest release, and maybe it does not have the brightest future for NDMP, but in a couple of areas it's still a topic, and we had to implement it for a specific project because there was no alternative to NDMP, and therefore we have implemented now the NDMP protocol and backup capability for NetApp and EMC VNX hardware, Oracle ZFS hardware. It's a three-way NDMP over LAN with a data mover. And of course, you can do full and incremental backups of these volumes you extract with the NDMP protocol. And very often we are asked for single file restore. And this is not possible today, but it's already running in our lab, and we are working on this so that with the next update of our software, there will also be the single file restore for NDMP backups available. Well, and if you need this in your projects, if you have a configuration with one of these hardwares, then it's possible to use NDMP as a backup protocol today. If we look at our graphical user interface, if you just say new client, then you have the possibility over here, if you want to talk via NDMP to one of these systems, then it's very simple to configure it like a client in our graphical user interface. Now we have also a new agent for JIRA. I'm not sure if you know Atlassian JIRA. It's a software providing workflows, case tracking, bug tracking systems. It's pretty valuable for software developers, I think. And as far as I know, we are the only backup vendor on this planet having an online agent for JIRA. And we are completely integrated into the JIRA GUI. It's similar to the HANA Studio, as I've told you before, that you can do the backup from this GUI, you can trigger the restore, and well, so it's fairly easy to integrate both products for backup and restore. Backing up all the JIRA DBs and applications. We have a specific licensing based on users, and one of the most interesting scenarios is the cloning, because that's a huge manual effort for the JIRA administrators, and with the backup software, it's an easy job. You just do a backup and a restore under a different name in a separate instance, and then you are done with your cloning process. Well, over here, I wanted to show you JIRA. This is also just like all the other database options and groupware options. We have the JIRA agent over here to select as a backup type. That's fairly easy. So this seems like a unique selling point for our software if you have considered doing backup of your JIRA systems. Now we have a new dashboard integrated in our software. The dashboard provides new reporting and monitoring functionalities. And it runs embedded in the GUI, but it's also our first release of our web UI because it's now a browser-based graphical user interface, so the dashboard can run in the browser, and you don't need a web server installed on our backup server host, because it's possible to access the backup server with our new REST API via HTTP and just enter the link in the browser and have the dashboard in the browser. You can have statistics, graphics of clients, of backup jobs, drill down to backup jobs of clients, drill down to backup jobs based on databases and the utilization of the disk storage and upcoming events and a statistic of the amount of data you have backed up and things like that. But this is the first step, because this will evolve in the future a lot, because we in the end are willing to provide a complete web UI based graphical user interface, which today is Java based, and in the future it should be completely web based. I can show you this in the GUI. So now we have this new icon over here. This starts the dashboard. This is now embedded in our current Java GUI. It requires a Java FX package being installed, but this is part of the Oracle distribution of Java. There's the package already integrated in this, and then you can use this according to the functionality I have told you, with these graphical things also being possible. Now, something new is the source-side deduplication. Deduplication already was part of our software. We have developed our own algorithm for deduplication. We have the patterns. It's based on variable block length, therefore it's very efficient. And we had integrated the target side deduplication, so that you have been possible to deduplicate the data in memory of the backup server or the remote device server before storing the data to disk. Also, the deduplication was necessary for replication, replicating deduplicated data, and now the source-side deduplication provides the functionality to deduplicate the data on the client, and only the changed or new blocks will be transmitted. What is that good for? You can now back up servers somewhere in your branch office, only having a WAN connection. You can do a backup because the data which has to be transmitted over the WAN has been significantly reduced by the deduplication algorithm. So that's what's possible with the source-side deduplication. And it enables the backup of single servers over the WAN. It's a global deduplication. If you have several branch office and there's for instance, Windows 2012 server, then if the Windows 2012 operating system has been backed up, all the blocks have been transmitted from the first client, the second client does not need to transfer all the blocks of the operating system, only the new blocks and the changed blocks, and this is a real global deduplication. Well, it's a bottleneck, the WAN, and now with the source-side deduplication you have overcome the bottleneck. For backup, for restore, this bottleneck still exists. This is something you have to keep in mind. It's possible to do a restore of single files or single directories, but if you want to restore a complete server in case of a disaster, then it might take a long time over the WAN to restore terabytes of data, and then it might be better to set up this server new in the data center and physically ship it to the branch office. So you need new concepts for restoring in some cases. This is something you have to keep in mind if you talk about source-side deduplication. But however, we have completed all the functionalities around deduplication in our software now. Then we have done something for MSPs because it's now possible to send the license report via email on a regularly basis on the end of each month, which helps to do the accounting for MSPs. It's a script that creates the jobs and the schedules and is doing the things automatically, sending the license report. Then we have done a lot for Microsoft Exchange. Microsoft Exchange is, I think, a very comfortable and strong agent we have for Microsoft Exchange, and you can just mount the EDB and you can browse in this mounted database. You can extract just by drag and drop a single mail or a single calendar entry into your live Exchange system. It's really comfortable. But regarding data availability groups, we had the restriction that we were only capable of doing backup of passive databases, passive Exchange databases. And this was sometimes tricky to define the passive Exchange database. But now this restriction has gone. We support backup of active and passive databases. And now you have the options to really define if to go first to the active database and then to the passive, or first go to the passive and then to the active. You can define if one node is down, contact another node to do the backup from there. So you really have new functionalities, and it's more flexible and easier to configure the DAG backup. Just for an example, if I have a window host over here, I say new backup task, then you can click on the Exchange server DAG backup, and then you have the new options over here, just active copy only or passive copy only or active copy preferred, passive copy. So there are a lot of options over here allowed to execute on any DAG host that you can contact another DAG node. So this is what's new in the software for DAG backup. Then it's possible to extract single emails, single objects from a VM snapshot, from a VMware VM snapshot backup. That's possible with our new client, but the backup agent is still necessary to be installed on the Exchange server just because of log truncation. Well, but it's a first step to agentless Exchange backup, and I think we will move further in this area. We have integrated authentication. It's now a SEP user administration. All the users are stored in the database of the backup server, and it's a login with password for GUI and the dashboard as well. And you can have the roles which are available in our GUI today for these kind of users, the admin and the operator role. And today it's turned off by default, but you can switch it on with a little command. And it's a first step, I would say, to multi-tenancy, to the full set of multi-tenancy functionality with the integration of Active Directory and LDAP, so that the users are not stored in our database. We match with Active Directory, and to be honest, it's already running in our lab here, the integration with the Active Directory, so it will be part of one of our next updates. In the GUI we have some enhancements like follow-up events that you can now link jobs together if there is a backup job, and as soon as the backup job has finished, it triggers the following migration job to disk. And in the past, I think you had several schedules having enough buffer for the backup so that they do not overlap. And now with the follow-up events, it's easier to link tasks sequentially together. We have user-defined calendars to specify public holidays for several customers, for several areas, several countries. Each country has its own public holiday scenarios and calendars, and they can be specified in our graphical user interface. You have the subcycles for task repetition so that you can run backups from, for instance, 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening, and during the night there are no backups. So it's more granular and more flexible to provide the schedules. There's a new list view for all the events, and so there's a little bit more usability and flexibility in our graphical user interface. If I show you this in our graphical user interface, if you go to schedules over here, I say new schedule, then you will find a new tab here, the user defined calendars, and you can create calendars, and then you can have several calendars for several regions or provinces or customers or whatever you might configure over here. So that's where it is located over here. And here are the subcycles. You can say start time, stop time, repetition, options over here. That's where the subcycles are located. Some other things new in our release. This is the possibility doing incremental backups with Hyper-V. Well, I think it's an important thing, doing incremental backups with Hyper-V. And this is now possible with our software. Very often at this point, participants ask for single file restore for Hyper-V. And this is something which we are currently working on and which will be definitely released next year for Hyper-V then. We have changed the end of lifetime for replication. In our last version, the replication always had the same end of lifetime as the original data, as the primary data, and now it can have separate end of lifetimes, as it already was the case with the migration, having the migrated data with another retention policy. Some changes with our disaster recovery module, and support for alternate data streams, having metadata and contents in the different data streams, as it is very common in the Macintosh world, for instance. It's also available in NTFS Windows file systems, but it's not so famous. It's not so well known. Then we have the HSM aware backup for Windows, really taking care of the stubs, the links, and backing up and restore them correctly. And then we have the possibility to have several data stores on a Linux RDS. This is sometimes necessary for scalability, for performance, and things like that. Then it's possible to have several data stores. Of course, this reduces a little bit the global deduplication functionality because the data stores are separate. But in case of garbage collection and performance and scalability, it has new advantages. Well, so these are some little functionalities, but in total, I think it's a lot of stuff and a big move forward. Then we talk about support metrics, and for our software, as we are an independent backup software vendor, it's very important to be up to date in the support metrics. We have new clients for /12. We have the IBM PowerPC architecture, the Z series. We have for RHEL 7 some new clients on this. We are integrated in SAP applications, / for SAP applications integrated over here. We have for the Novell world, the Micro Focus world, the OAS 2015 support, some Linux distributions. We have HANA on these IBM things. We have the hypervisors pretty much up to date, vSphere 6, Xen Server 7, REF version 4, and also in the Microsoft world, we have released now Exchange 2016 support, Microsoft SQL Server 2016. Windows 10 was already released with some update of 4.4.2. And what's currently in our lab quality assurance for Windows 2016, which has been released by Microsoft, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago as well. And it will not take long that we will add this to our support metrics. So you can see being up to date is definitely our top goal at SEP for all our customers using the right systems. Some technical prerequisites. Here we have the Java 1.8 now as a prerequisite for the new graphical user interface. Java FX, sometimes it's part of Oracle distribution, of other distributions of Java. You have to optionally install this package. We have the DNS and Windows and Linux. These are not new prerequisites for our software. They are still the same. We have the component packages, the graphical user interface package, the server package, the remote device server, the media agent package, and the client package. This is also not new. Also the hardware resources which are necessary for our installation, they haven't changed. But if it comes to deduplication, there has something changed, because in the past the amount of data was only relevant for the main memory you have to provide, but experiences, and we have learned from these customer cases that it's also necessary to scale with the CPU resources depending on the amount of data. So this is definitely new in our technical prerequisites. Well, that's pretty much it for today. Remember my email address, kri@sep.de. It's fairly easy, this email address, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me your question. I will give you an answer as soon as possible. Bye-bye.